drumming, but my head's in the zone. Now hearts may be broken, and tears they may fall, but after decades of hoping, it's nice to be here at all. They didn't see us coming, but we can make it alone. Let's just believe until we have to go home.
Good morning all, welcome in to the very first Euro Breakfast, and I'm delighted to be joined today firstly by the man to my right as you're looking at the screen, Mr. Michael Park. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. I'm looking forward to the Euros. I'm genuinely like a kid at Christmas. I'm very excited about it now. So,
well, I must say the idea of being up at 9 o'clock in the morning is it's just nice to see you out of bed. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's I made it. And I'm also joined by my podcast partner in crime down the bottom, Chris Power. How you doing, Chris?
Yeah, doing great, obviously, and I was similar. I remember messaging you yesterday. Is it 10? Is it 10? Thinking it was 10, but hoping
there was
it was
a danger
10
that
more.
Chris was going to just pop in for the last 10 minutes of this stream today, so we're lucky that he's managed to find a beanie in time to get in at 9 o'clock. So.
That's true. As I say, I mean, famously known for wearing a beanie indoors now, so...
But yeah, today we are just going to do a general preview of the tournament, given that we're kicking off tomorrow. So we've got the easy job, and the rest of the guys need to actually give proper previews and analysis. So we've drawn the good lot today. But Shove, thank you for the the compliment on the bunting. I thought I'd go out a bit with the budget, you know. Ben is upset that Michael has not got the hat memo. Here as well, just need to point that out.
I look terrible in hats, and I don't own any. So, unfortunately,
he's also live from Hampden. So,
yeah, I just have to put up with this incredible head of hair. So, it's a curse. It's a curse.
It's a curse. You notice he's holding his mug the wrong way around because I noticed it said 54 when he held it the other way. There could have been interesting comments.
It's a Thunderbirds mug. that my mum got me for Christmas like 10 years ago, so be nice.
I'll say no more. But right, just before we get started, big thank you to Randall Sleep for letting us use their Scotland tune as the intro. We didn't see it coming to the name of it, and if you want to go and buy it, it's on all big platforms. The money all goes to street soccer, and there's another charity as well that I forget now, but it all goes to good causes. So go and support them, that's what I'm saying. Go and get it, because it's a really good wee song. And with that, we'll just jump straight in, will we? So where most people would start would be Group A. I suppose we'll do the same thing. We have Italy, Switzerland, Turkey and Wales. And we were just talking about Italy before we came on, that it's the one country that someone hasn't prepared for, so let's go with that to get started, will we? Who wants to jump in first?
Mike, are you
Not
on
me.
Yeah,
no. All right, fair enough. Yeah, I prepared notes for everything except Italy because I don't think this is their year. I think they're everybody's dark horse. I know they're Chris's dark horse, but I have a funny feeling that they're going to not struggle, because Italy never struggle. They'll get through the group, no bother, and then they'll sort of bore everybody in the knockouts. And I reckon quarterfinals about their level. Why? No basis.
Sweeping general statement. Love to hear it. Great way to get
I
started.
like Federico Chiesa.
But aye, Chris, any thoughts?
See, I actually think they're warranted the dark horse sort of tag, and mainly because there's a lot of their players are in their prime. Like obviously Ciro Immobile's a guy. I mean, he plays for Lazio, which is obviously a negative, but he's a top striker. He's like, you know, been world class over the last sort of few seasons. I think they've got a really good mix. Like Mike said, obviously about Chiesa, they've got a good mix of experienced players and young players. So I think it's a tournament, and it's probably something we'll talk about later. But I think there is a feeling about this tournament that it could be like a Euro 2004 where Greece wins it. Greece won it, sorry. So I think there is going to be potentially a team that you wouldn't think about that might win this year, especially given how things have went with COVID during the season and stuff like that. So I actually think Italy are well up there for me in terms of, I guess, a dark horse.
I mean, we'll get to COVID later on, no doubt, because there's been a few issues with it over the last week or so with different countries. But Italy, I can't make my mind up. Sometimes I think they're a dark horse, and sometimes I think, like Michael, they're just going to go to the quarterfinals and go out with a damn squib.
I think part of the problem with Italy is you look at, and I mean, I don't watch a lot of Italian football. You might be shocked to find out, but if looking at their defence, it looks significantly weaker, especially if they're going to be relying on the older guys. It's there to be got at. Donnarumma's a very good keeper, but also isn't. So I don't know. Like, I think midfield and attack, they've definitely got something. It depends on how their defence come together, I think.
It's a good point.
They need Immobile to have a cracking tournament, don't they? Because other than him, you're looking at the strikers. They've got good strikers, but there's no really massive kind of goal scorers in there. Belotti's not had a great season. Insigne's still a great player, but Chiesa's more of a creative kind of guy. Immobile is a guy that's a goal scorer, and they need him to put the ball in the back in it. I feel like
Chiesa's very good at football.
Michael is a Chiesa bandwagoner. You'll probably hear this as we go along.
I am a Federico Chiesa stan.
I think it's a good point on the defence, Mike, because I mean they have. I think it was what I mentioned earlier about obviously the young experience thing, but obviously Bastoni. I think how old is he? Like 21 maybe. Then they've got like
22,
guys we mentioned, like Toloi from Atalanta, who's very experienced, a wee bit of leadership at the back. So I honestly think they've got a good mix, but like you say, I think Immobile is the main man up front. He has to get the goals. I mean, can they get goals from other guys like Chiesa and that? Probably, but they're probably going to be looking at him. He'll be like the straight up target man. And if anything happens in terms of injuries, then I think you're right, Italy probably could potentially struggle, because he's a guy that's in his prime, and I don't think the likes of Belotti, like you mentioned, obviously I don't think he's sort of came on the last few years. So yeah, Immobile's the main guy for Italy, and if he's banging them in, then Italy I think can go far.
In terms of the group, though, we're all pretty confident they're going to get through this with the Swiss, Turkey, and Norway. Not Norway, Wales. Sorry.
Ah, yes, that traditionally Norwegian country, Wales. I mean, from the point of view of the rest of the group, I think they should do it easily. I think it should be. I don't think this is Wales's. But I think their young players are too young and their old players are too old. I think that's Wales's problem. And obviously, as good as Robert Page has been in temporary charge, you do have the Ryan Giggs is a bad man thing looming over the top of that. Switzerland, I hate. I think they're one of the worst international football teams to watch. And just because they're Switzerland, they get an easy ride because everybody's like, oh, Switzerland, what do you want them to do? And they're just terrible.
It's as good a time as any to start talking about Switzerland, isn't it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, so, talking about easy rides, Switzerland is such a...
Sorry.
Yeah,
Chris.
I'm shaking my head at that after something that was previously mentioned, so...
I mean, Switzerland do annoy me, I must admit, because like they're just a squad that they just look alright, but they're just very beige. There's nothing that exciting about them. A lot of their players don't even play at club level. Like half of their squad haven't had a full season, and that's taking account of COVID and so on. A lot of them are backups for their club sides, so they're just not a very exciting team. And up front, I do like Brielle Mbolo, I must admit, but he's kind of out of the Balotelli school, like anything could happen. is the other thing
Yeah.
with him. So that's probably why I like him, because he just brings a bit of like excitement to a very boring squad, I feel like.
I think he definitely adds a kind of spark to the team. Like, Shaqiri was the one for years that you kind of watched them and were like, please do something. Please. And then he never would. Now you're looking at Mbolo to kind of provide that spark, but also Willie, probably not. To hell with Switzerland.
Granit Xhaka for me is not a footballer. He's literally just a thug in the middle. I mean, he never does anything apart from get yellow or red carded in games. I've never actually seen him do a good pass or take a great attempt or something. He's just literally a thug in the centre of midfield. And I'm not just saying that because he plays for Arsenal, obviously, and I'm a Spurs fan, but I just don't rate him as a decent centre mid. And I think that's where teams like Switzerland, they miss that sort of proper leadership in a good way. It's always sort of, like you mentioned, obviously Shaqiri can do things, but I mean, is he? I think he's still at Liverpool. I don't know if he plays very much. So, I mean, he's a guy that I think, I don't want to be too harsh on him, but he had all this promise, and I think he ended up at like Stoke City or something like that. So, that's the extent of the Switzerland squad at the moment. So,
I quite enjoyed Maldon's comment there. Man's not being neutral about the Swiss.
Yeah, it's also fun to be part of a stream where Chris is getting bodied for his opinions on Granit Xhaka. And I just sat here and said I thought the whole squad was crap, and nobody was like, meh.
Although I think it's fine as a general thing, because I just don't see them doing anything. They might get through to the knockouts, especially with 4 third-place teams getting through. But
has anyone put a good point across about Xhaka actually putting forward anything decent for Arsenal or any other team? I've honestly never seen him.
He had a really good spell at one point this year when all the fans hated him and he turned it around, but then it seems to have gone back the other way again, hasn't it? So
a good spell though.
I like what Wald's saying there. In fairness, Arsenal make most players look crap, and Xhaka tends to play well for the Swiss.
I'm loving that spelling of his name like he's Chaka Khan.
Chaka Khan, that's what I thought as well.
I'm loving that.
I think goalkeeper, defender wise, are sorted. It's just going forward and in the midfield, they're full of defensive, deep lying midfielders. Shaqiri's the one that you think.
Yeah, somebody made a good point in the chat that they're sort of like defensive linchpin. Cher has had a fairly poor season for Newcastle and has had COVID.
Yeah.
And that's like they pin a lot of hopes on 2 or 3 players, really. And no, I'm sorry, I'm not having it. Get them done, get them gone.
In fairness, Michael, I think other countries are the same though. Like obviously there is other countries that, like for example Wales, who pin it on like Gareth Bale or Aaron Ramsey. So there are certain countries that do have the sort of 2 or 3 that they'll try and rely on. We were obviously talking about Italy. I think they're a step above that because they do have sort of Champions League sort of players throughout the squad, but they still pin their hopes on Immobile and players like that. So I think it's fair comment what you said, but I think other countries are similar.
They absolutely do. But the other thing with Switzerland is they pin all their hopes on 2 or 3 creative dynamos and goal scorers, and then play this sort of hellish football that's not worth. Like I just don't get it. Like I'd hate to be Swiss. And I'm Scottish, like what does that say?
Just love it. General sweeping statements to get going. I'll leave the last one.
I'd love to be Swiss. It's a beautiful country with great stuff. Football wise, it's not like I'm not having a dig at the Swiss. Who's doing that?
Like football wise, I'll leave the last word to the actual scout who's in the chat, Ken, saying we're spending more time in the Swiss than any opposition analyst ever would. So on that note, I feel like it's an appropriate time to move on to Turkey, who are also in this group. And I really fancy him to do well this time. Don't know about you guys.
Me too.
Before kind of starting prep for this, I didn't really know that much, other than obviously they're bigger name players. But I think they've got a really decent squad and they're in great form. they've got some really decent results. Yilmaz and Şengizünder up front are outstanding. I fancy them to do really well. Maybe even my dark horse pick, to be honest.
I genuinely think Turkey are going to do something. They probably have to sort out themselves in defence. They were a bit leaky going through most of the qualifying stages, but they seem to have sorted that. They've got 95-year-old Burak Yilmaz scoring for fun. They've got Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who is the best man ever to have lived. I hope he doesn't get cancelled or something. But, he's great. He just plays the exact way that I like a creative midfielder to play. They've got Kavesi? Not totally sure how to pronounce it, but he's a sort of Ozil-like figure that's now playing with Ozil at Fenerbahce and is dead excited about that. So his game's improving or going to pieces, depending on your opinion of Mesut Ozil. And I think they could really, really do something. I mean, they beat. Oh, come on.
Razzle dazzle. I'm shaking my head.
They beat the Netherlands 4-2 in their World Cup qualifying group recently. So, and they've scored 10 goals in their last 5 matches.
Check this man's preparation out. Love to see that. Chris, a man who might not have prepared as much as that on Turkey. What do you think?
Turkey, Yilmaz obviously is a Turkish legend. But again, another aging squad though. I mean, they have the players that have played at a higher level. The thing that worries me about Turkey is because all these sort of domestic-based players in the country, I don't think the Turkish league is that as good as it used to be, certainly. So it's hard to really judge. Previously, obviously, you had the likes of Galatasaray and Fenerbahce and the Champions League and the Europa League or whatever every season, but it's becoming less and less of a thing because of the there's other things, obviously, I think financially in the Turkish league, but I think the product overall on the pitches went down as well. So for me, it's hard to judge Turkey based on everything really, because I don't think the standard's quite what it was a few years ago when you had obviously Galatasaray getting through the Champions League and Fenerbahce and stuff like that. So I don't rate Turkey. I don't think they'll get far. I think they might get through the group, maybe, but I don't think they're going to go far. Similar to, I guess, not similar to you guys. I think they're not a dark horse for me.
No, I'm still feeling it. I'm basing it on their international form, not the the standard of the league and so on. They're one of the squads that actually play as a team as well, for what I've caught of them. So you're not going to have the issue like the Dutch have sometimes. They're a team of individuals with Turkey. I just think Yilmaz is going to have a great tournament, even though, as Michael says, he's almost got a Zimmer frame at this point. But they've got guys that are in form at club levels, the other thing, which is a really kind of big thing. And I really like Kaveci as well, the creative guy. I'm going to say he's better than Ozil because he's not going to fall off a cliff in terms of performance and so on. So Junku's a cracking defender as well. But I don't really see a major weakness with him, to be honest. For what I could tell, the only issue they've got is they don't really have an out-and-out left-back. So they're playing a centre-back at left-back, but I think you can get away with that, to be honest. Scotland can give them a left-back, we've got 50 of them. But I genuinely think they're going to go at worst quarter-finals. Just having a nosy through everything. And kind of the reason why I'm saying they're guaranteed a group stage, and I'm going to be quite harsh here by the sounds of it, Wales are our final team in Group A. I just don't see them getting out of the group, I'll be honest, guys. I can't see it. Even though I took them to the win in FM, which was a bit of a miracle. What do you think?
Michael, I think, touched on it a wee bit earlier, but obviously there's a lot of sort of behind the scenes off the field things with Ryan Giggs, their manager, so that's just going to be a complete distraction for them. I think they've obviously got good players, but the likes of Gareth Bale, he's getting on, didn't have the best season at Spurs, was a wee bit part with Mourinho. I think Aaron Ramsey's probably their actual top man now. I don't know how well he got on with Juventus, but there's certain players for Wales that I think are quite reliable, but I don't see them beating the likes of Italy, for example. So it really depends. I mean, I could say this, and then Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey then become like world beaters and start scoring every game and whatnot. And Bale has it in him because obviously we know what he's been like previously. But I think they're getting to a stage now where these guys are kind of getting past the prime of their career, so they can't over rely on them anymore, basically. Especially Bale. But I think I was a wee bit unfair on Bale simply because I don't think he's played as much as he could have, and when he did play, he was fairly decent. But I don't think he can do it consistently anymore. Like consistently be like world class and a world beater like previously.
He's not the same player he used to be, definitely. What do you think, Michael?
I think that in 2 or 4 years, Wales could be the same level that they were in 2016 and could really, really, really do some damage. I'm looking at that squad just now, and I think a lot of it depends on whether Aaron Ramsey's fit and up to speed and classic Aaron Ramsey. But I don't see it this year. I just think that they're, like I said earlier, their young players are too young, their older players are too maybe far gone, maybe not too old, because it's not a particularly old squad. But you look at probably, you're looking at relying on guys coming into the squad that are maybe not quite at that level with their first teams yet, but will be. And I think, World Cup, if they qualify, certainly the next Euros, why not? But I just don't necessarily see it being this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of a similar mindset with them. I think that their young players are clearly very good, but I think it's a bit early for Wales, this one. I don't think that year delay helped them, really, to be honest, in the Euros themselves, but I really like Daniel James. The thing with Daniel James is he's one of these guys that will rely on pace, so as soon as the pace goes, he'll be finished. But I like him in this kind of tournament for a counter-attacking team, just to take the balls over the top when you're counter-attacking. Bale, obviously.
So are you saying that Daniel James is going to go off a cliff at age 23? Is that what you're predicting?
Not literally,
here?
No, but
no, I don't mean like Wile E. Coyote. I mean like, his pace is going to disappear in the next 2 years.
Not in the next couple of years, actually, but he's the kind of guy that when he hits 30, you're just waiting for him to fall apart and go down to League 2 level. Because he'll just rely on his name and having been at Man United at that point. I like David Brooks. I think David Brooks is a great, creative, kind of attacking midfielder. Bale's probably going to play up front, we reckon, because I can't see Kiefer Moore or Tyler Roberts starting. But yeah, I just don't see Wales getting out of the groups, I'll be honest. It's just not their year. I'll leave it at that. Even though they've got a few really good young players. I like Ampadu as well. I think he's a great wee player, but I just can't see it. So we're thinking Italy, Switzerland, Turkey potentially as a 3, assuming a third place does get through.
I would give Wales a chance of being third place in that group over Switzerland.
Okay.
I mean, they've got a chance of being second. Literally anything could happen, Mozza. That's the beauty of football, and we know nothing. So
we're just a talking shop.
I would say Italy first and then Turkey second. That's what I would put it.
Man City there saying Bale can still go, just not had a chance for Mourinho, and Zidane saying he had a bad attitude. I think he can still go, but he's not the same player, is basically what we're trying to say.
Yeah, well, I think I mentioned that he was a bit part under Mourinho, and when he did come in, he was decent. But again, I just don't think he's at the level where he can do it, as I mentioned, consistently be the player to go to it. I think it's tougher to judge because obviously Tottenham do have Son and Harry Kane, whereas Wales it's going to be straight to Bale or Aaron Ramsey. So, but I just don't think he's the same player anymore. Even towards the end of the season, when he was getting a game under Ryan Mason. So.
And can I just say before I move on, my favourite comment of the whole stream so far is the Welsh Ivan Sproul I think that's glorious for CM there.
Well,
Anyone that had money in Ivan Sproul's name coming up with it, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's. I'm getting pulled up for this cliche bingo, which, like, something you have to understand is it allows me to say any garbage I want and then just explain it away with I could be wrong.
that's
Michael is
is that the
prepared.
notes you've written down, Mike? Just like
Yeah.
different words. Like I mentioned that word, cross it out. That word, cross
It's-
it out.
What I've done is I've got a list of things like it's a game of two halves. At the end of the day,
Get your
sick as a
bingo cards
parrot.
out.
Yep. It's anything can happen in international football. Yeah.
No Scotland, no party, I have written down here.
I talked about the standard earlier, so I think that's probably in the bingo thing as well. So
Probably, especially knowing you as well.
Oh, it's a funny old game. There we go.
Moving on swiftly. Group B, we're about to talk about apparently FIFA's top-ranked nation in the world, Belgium. I think the issue with Belgium is we don't know if De Bruyne's going to make it now after his injury. It was quite a serious injury he got in the Champions League final. Are they good enough to avoid kind of too much of a fall-off for that, or are they a bit too reliant on him?
they've still got like proper decent players. Obviously, I mean Lukaku's had a brilliant season at Inter Milan, and I don't think they're as good as they have been in previous years. Obviously, the guys like Vincent Kompany, Moussa Dembele, the Spurs, the one that played at Tottenham, not the other one who's French, but I think their team is still good, top five, but I don't think they're number one anymore. Not for me. I think the golden generation, is it called, with like Hazard and stuff like that. Again, Hazard, I think, suffers the same. I don't think he's been as good at Real Madrid like he was at Chelsea. So I think there is a few players there for me in the team that are still world class, but they're kind of dropping off a wee bit. This could be like the last, in my opinion, this could be like the last sort of tournament that Belgium are considered a top side. I think they are going to drop off soon. They do have a few good young players coming up, but I don't think they're going to be at the level of your De Bruyne's, your Hazards, your Lukaku's. So I think this will be the last sort of hurrah for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that I do notice when you look at their squad is it's very, very attacking.
Yeah,
They're not going to just turn up and sit in. They're going to go and try and score goals, which I'm a big fan of, obviously. What do you think, Michael?
Yes. I think I hate to say it, but I generally kind of agree with Chris. I think this is I think they've got an experienced core. I've got some stats. I don't want to get, accused of having done research, but I saw a comment earlier like Lukaku for Golden Boot, which is a pretty safe, if you've got a fantasy team, put Lukaku in it because he's got 60 goals in 90 games. And most years, he scores pretty much a goal a game. I didn't get that off Wikipedia. Well, I did, but I actually went through and did the maths. So... But even, they do have, Michy Batshuayi has something like 23 or 4 in, 34 appearances or something like that. I said that like I just pulled it off the dome, but it's also written down. Sorry. I thought I'd write some stuff down.
Batshuayi has a really good goal scoring record. Aye, absolutely.
At international level.
At international level, indeed. And by the way, before I go any further, because I've just noticed Donut, Donny, and CM on the Rocks, thank you very much for the resubs as well, guys. Because we've not got alerts to flash up in this format, so apologies it took me a while to get to them. Yeah, I fancy at least a semi-final berth for Belgium, right? They've got enough about them, even if De Bruyne isn't good to go. Brilliant goalkeeper, really solid defence. I really like some of their attacking players, not just Lukaku as well. Like Dries Mertens, I'm a big fan of. Even Benteke throwing as a last-minute target man is not too bad.
It's got a good touch for a big man.
Oh, there it is. There it is. I'll set them up, you knock them down. But I like Carrasco as well. Oh, we've got a cat.
There's, it was inevitable.
So it's too much.
I'm
hilarity
glad.
going
I'm
on
glad
over
my
there.
nameplate's there. That's.
By the way, it is halfway through and we're at Group B, so we might need to
Right,
miss
let's
some
get a shimmy
countries.
on.
So we might need to speed run the next few. Denmark.
Good. Like them.
I don't see them doing that much. They're solid enough, but they're not very
Hey,
exciting.
come on.
My trope of saying that Christian Eriksen's not the same player anymore. So that's not, he's not the same player now. I don't think they're gonna get far, to be honest. I don't really see too much what in terms of other teams. I think they've got a decent team, but I don't think they're as good as other teams, basically.
Even as a Scotsman, if you're relying on Martin Braithwaite and Casper Dolberg up front, I think you're in a bit of trouble, to be honest. Cornelius is just a kind of bog standard target man. Poulsen again's a big physical beast, but he's not a finisher. I just don't see many goals in that team. And their midfield's full of defensive midfielders other than Eriksson and Damsgaard, really. So I see them maybe grinding through the knockouts and then doing not much else.
Yeah.
They're apparently ranked 10th in the world by FIFA, though,
How?
which is madness.
Well, FIFA usually get these things right. You want to talk about Finland?
We do want to talk about Finland, because Finland it's their first ever major tournament appearance, and they do have the Pukki party up front. So I'm quite excited to see what they do. Which probably won't be much.
I love
I
Pukki.
I don't think they're going to have a. Yeah, they're probably they've got Glenn Kamara. Obviously, we all know what he can do, and he's a great player. But and Timo Pukki, they're kind of over reliant.
I also
Next.
love the fact that they've got a defender called Daniel O'Shaughnessy, which is the most Finnish name that I could think of. He could have played for Ireland if he wanted to, but he's chosen Finland, and here he is. So
His mum's Finnish. There's also son of former Motherwell player Oni Valakari, is Simo Valakari's son,
good fact.
and plays for Paphos. Now here's a fact about Paphos. If you go to Paphos, they have a pelican that just wanders about the town. Pretty cool.
Is that legit?
Aye, it's a nice place to go. Loads of castles and stuff. I'm not just football. I'm not even football, let's face it. Look at the chat, I know nothing. I'm just here to tell you tourism facts about Cyprus.
Michael is here to throw in the Ali McCoist culture references.
I really wish I'd thought of that. Then people might like me.
I was about to say that, actually. It sounds like you're describing Scotland, apart from peacocks. Like, there's peacocks that go about towns mostly, so... But they do end up
You
filming
won't see many of them through this neck of the woods. They'll all be eaten by now.
Anyway, Russia?
Russia, not very exciting. They've got Juba up front, who's basically Tyson Fury as a footballer. Both off the field and on the field, by the way, with the controversies he's had. They're just not very exciting. I think there's a lot of young players there that'll be better at the next tournament, but I don't really see them doing anything. Don't know about yous.
Nah, I don't really rate Russia, to be honest. They had decent teams previously, but they've not, in my opinion, got like a history in the last sort of few years of going really far. So I could be wrong. I'm probably there'll be someone that spots it out if I'm wrong about that. But I don't remember them doing loads in previous tournaments. So
They had a decent World Cup when they were hosting, but that was more. I feel like they were just in a wave of momentum there, and
yeah. But they had the backing,
Yeah.
obviously, that helps being at home, But yeah, I don't honestly remember Russia ever being like a standout team that I would be, even in terms of Scotland, that I'd be afraid of playing, basically. So
I'm sad not to see Akinfeev though. Like the original FM Wonder Kid goalkeeper, he's been with them for years and years, and he's not in this squad for the first time in forever. So
Probably improves their chances, to be fair.
probably does improve their chances, but just purely from a sentimental point of view, it made me a bit sad. So it's a pretty tough group. We think Finland's probably the one that's most likely to drop out there, right?
yeah,
I think so, but I don't. They could cause an upset. I mean, it only takes winning. Another cliche, but it only takes winning and drawing to get through, really. So
It's
I
Chris
don't know.
getting called out in the chat. You'll love to see that. Yeah, I still don't see Russia doing much, even if they get through in a second or third place berth there, to be honest. I'm assuming Belgium will win the group, even with their injury issues. And that brings us on to Group C, with Austria, the Netherlands, North Macedonia and Ukraine. I'm going to kick off with Austria and say, again, they're not a very exciting team.
Yeah, that's probably fair enough.
They're kind of...
Netherlands.
They're just Switzerland, but I don't know. I just
disagree.
don't fancy them.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think Austria have really improved over the years, especially their. I'm going to go about their domestic game again, but they've got guys like Alaba in their squad, so
Yeah.
they do have like very decent players. But I do think that Austria could be one in the future that does improve. I mean, I don't know too much about like their overall squad or that, but there is certainly players of a decent standard that I think they could potentially be I wouldn't say dark horse, but I can see them actually getting through that group with probably the Netherlands. So
Yeah, I mean they do have good players. You know, they've got like Liner and Sabitzer and obviously
Sabitzer,
Alaba, but they are hellish to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I like Grealish as well, the midfielder, but they're another team that I could see squeezing in the knockouts and then going out pretty early. They're just, I cannot see them going on a run. I don't have much else to say really about Austria. But yeah, as Man City there says, it'd be nice to see a shock team win. I don't think Austria is going to be that shock team, to be honest. Netherlands might shock people by going out early though. I think that's my kind of bold prediction for this tournament. I know they've got Memphis Depay, who's the main man, and he's banging form. They just didn't really impress me when Scotland played them in a friendly. A lot of their guys are in kind of spotty form. They could be alright, but I just don't see them doing major things.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't really impressed with them when Scotland played them recently. Again, it's one of these teams where I think we mentioned it with Belgium, where I think they're kind of past their golden generation, if you will. So, yeah, they rely too much on Depay. I mean, we saw it obviously where he's diving about and everything against Scotland to win free kicks and stuff. I mean, they've really went down in my book, and I used to really regard the Netherlands as a sort of really up their squad in terms of like maybe top 5, top 10, but yeah, I don't really rate them now, sadly enough to say, because I do think they've had obviously world-class teams before, but I don't think that this is their year this year, even as a dark horse.
I've just flagged up for the comments there. A less likeable Ray McKinnon managing them is the comment for seeing on the rocks. I'll be honest, I think the board's an issue because they've got players, like they've clearly got talent, but I just don't think he's very good as a manager. Waiting for Michael's input, or is he just going to...
It's just going to nod.
No, I mean, I think they're incredibly inconsistent, and I think it'll be a real laugh to watch them in a group that's not going to be full of laughs. But apart from that, don't really have anything to add, really.
Right, on it. If Shove is in the chat, here's your moment, mate. North Macedonia, 62nd ranked by FIFA. They sneaked through, and I know there's one player in particular Michael wants to mention here.
I mean, I think like North Macedonia have already done their work. Like they're absolute heroes. Not that I know much about North Macedonia, but I looked it up. You know, like they're absolute heroes for making it. If they go further, great. If not, they're just happy to be there. And that's not a cliche. That's literally a thing that it's their first major tournament. It's great. They do have a guy who's nicknamed the Macedonian Diamond. I say a guy, like it's Elmas that plays for Napoli. It's not like he's nobody.
Just some guy.
Yeah, some dude. No, Elmas is like probably their star player because he's called the Macedonian Diamond. And like, yeah, you've got Goran Pandev as well, who is, you know, his name is constantly coming up in the chat. If you need an idea of how committed the North Macedonians are to doing well, then just watch Goran Pandev play football. Because he's still going and he's still
he must be some
absolutely
age
killing it.
He's now 37.
Yeah.
according to this. He'll be 38 just after the tournament finishes. But the reason he's playing is because he always wanted to play in a major tournament. So he's finally got his chance at the ripe old age there. But he can probably still be alright for a finish or two, I'd imagine. They're not going to ask him to do too much. He's basically going to sit there, and if he gets a chance, probably still got it, I'd argue. He's one of those that come through Serie A and are just evergreen. But
Yeah.
I really like Elmas. I like Ennis Bardi as well. I think they've got some decent players, and Maladin there in the chat saying they could pull something off in this group. I wouldn't put it past them to get through it. Or the team we're about to talk about, Shevchenko's Ukraine. Because if we have a wee nosy at there, we're not going to talk about the kit, because obviously the Russians weren't very happy about it. But even though there might not look many goals in that Ukraine team, they've got a really decent kind of recent record, and I think their midfield's fantastic. Even looking at likes of Marlos, who clearly isn't a Ukrainian but he's nationalised, I think they could do alright here. Don't know about you.
I think the same applies for everyone in this group. I think it's a very open group, actually. I don't really know too much about North Macedonia in terms of their players, or similarly, actually, obviously Ukraine, I know the sort of standouts, but the way it's been described and the way I sort of look at that group is just, it's very open. I think it wouldn't surprise me if, North Macedonia wins it or Ukraine wins it, or, so that's the one takeaway from that, I would say, is just the group is just, for me, is very open. It's probably the most open, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. McGilvery there saying any team could finish top. Yeah, I kind of go with that as well. It's just not a very spectacular group, is it? But even though you'd think like the Netherlands would normally be the favourites to finish top, I wouldn't put it past
Sometimes
anything.
they're the best ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of. You're not expecting it to be too exciting. Maybe that's the way to go. Like, keep an eye on Group C. Group D is different though, because we are going to have our eyes on that for a certain reason. We'll start with Croatia though. Go alphabetical. Croatia have still got it. Still a very, very decent team, and they've got some good young players coming through, but the starters are getting on a bit, is the only issue I'd say with them.
I mean, yeah, that's probably going to be the case with them. I mean, I think they're obviously like coming to the end of a. I don't know. I'm not good enough with waves to understand exactly what it is I'm trying to say. They're coming to the bottom of part of a bell curve. You know what I mean? But
There you go.
But they still have really dangerous players, and I think
Yeah.
anybody who underestimates them is going to be bollocksed. To be quite frank.
Yeah, I wouldn't underestimate them, but again, I feel like that's all I've said during this thing, but I do feel they're, like what you said, Mike, they're probably going down before they come up, and we'll obviously discuss Scotland, but I think for us, we're actually coming up, while other teams are coming down, so I think it's... I think we can beat them.
It's a transitional phase for them.
Yeah.
That's the
there we
one,
go.
yeah.
I'm just really committed to helping the bingo cards now.
I'm trying to think of other ones.
See, if you're playing a drinking game at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're
Good luck to you. Get back to your bed.
Croatia could do something. Can we move on to the exciting one?
We can move on to the exciting ones, because after Croatia we have Czechia, or as the tournament are calling them, the Czech Republic.
I see what you've done here.
FIFA and UEFA haven't updated it yet. So how are we thinking about the Czechs here? We, as kind of talking Scottish wise, we've got a really good record against the Czechs, but we did play against a reserve team the last time, essentially with COVID. So they've got Patrick Schick up front's the big danger. They've got a few really decent players. I wouldn't dismiss them as easily as some people have.
If we sorry mate, if we don't beat Czech Republic, then we're not getting through the group. I think
I'd agree with that.
I think they're the weakest team compared to obviously England and we just talked about them, but it's thinking in my mind Croatia. So we have to beat them. But I think it's a weird one with Czech Republic, because I do believe the media will still build up this Skadela thing and make it kind of more. I know he's not at the tournament, obviously he's banned, but I do feel like either the Czech media or the Scottish media will build it up into this sort of rivalry, and that's what would concern me. Because if you go in, either team goes in with that sort of like, oh, Cadella and all that sort of stuff, then it's a distraction, and I don't think it helps. I hope they don't, but I do have a feeling that's going to be a talking point, even despite the fact the guy's not even at the tournament. But I think that will be a built-up fake rivalry, I think.
I don't see that being a big issue, to be honest, because there's not that many Rangers players in the Scotland team. And even with that, I think it'd be more of a thing if Finland were going to play the Czechs, but
Yeah.
I genuinely don't see that affecting anything. I don't think that Scotland squad will be going around thinking, oh, this is where Cadella came from, let's smash them. So,
I think it's more so on the media, to be honest, Derek. I think that it will get a mention. I think it's more
it'll
of
get
a
a
media
mention,
thing
no
than
doubt,
that.
because the quality of our media will move on swiftly. But I guess, have we got any further things to throw on the Czechs, or are we going to get to the meat of this group?
Yeah, let's.
England. Football's coming home, they tell us yet again for the 50th time since '66. Is it?
No.
They've
they're
got to
literally
win
playing
something
Wembley.
sometime.
I don't know. I think England's probably much the same as Holland as their manager, in my opinion. I think they've got a decent squad. I just don't see them winning the thing. They might get quarterfinals, even semi-finals, but could I see Southgate leading a team to win that? Not for me. Don't know what you guys think.
I think you're being a wee bit unfair, considering how well they done the World Cup. I think it was at the semis they got to. So I think actually, this is where I'm probably going to be hammered, but I actually rate Gareth Southgate as a manager. I just don't think the problem with England is that they're too. The expectations are obviously high all the time, but they're too sort of cliquey. Where obviously the London players will sit with the London players, the Manchester players will sit with the So I think they need to build on this sort of squad unity there, and I think it's always been a problem with England that they always seem to have their weak cliques, and I don't think there's been a manager since whoever that's sort of basically got them in as a proper team. I think there's too much division in England. I suppose it's the same in other countries too, but certainly England is a standout because of the media scrutiny, the expectations. I don't think they're going to, I think they'll get through the group, but I don't think they're going to win out of that. Harry Kane, obviously I've seen a lot of Harry Kane. I can't hate Harry Kane, so if he does score against Scotland, I'll need someone else to sort of jump in for me. But he comes deeper now. He's not an out-and-out striker. He comes deeper, tries to set things up. And I actually think that's a wee bit of a detriment to England's chances, because they do rely on him up front. So I don't know who else, what their other striking option. I don't know if they took Vardy, for example, but
no, they've got Calvert-Lewin, Rashford, Sterling, Kane are basically their
but Kane's out and out basically, because he comes in deeper now. He's more like a sort of deep lying forward. I think that's a detriment to England because he does that. But then again, I suppose he could open up the play to like Sterling and whoever. But they've got a good team, but I just don't think they're going to win it.
I really like some of the young players though. I like Phil Foden. I think Phillips does a really decent job. I really like Saka, but I think it might still be a bit early for him. Sancho's an outstanding player. He's not really done it for England yet though, right enough. I don't know. I'm going to say England to the semis, but the thing that there was a big chat reaction to what you were saying there, Chris. The thing with their World Cup run is they didn't play anyone really until they faced Croatia. But
you can only
it wasn't the toughest. You can only play who you've got put in front of you, right? But at the same time, was it that impressive a run? Is the question. I suppose they still won the games, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
And they are very heavily reliant on Harry Kane. You're right there. What do you think, Michael?
I don't care.
Are you just waiting for the next team in the list?
Pretty much.
Well, shall we get there?
Please.
We've only got 5 left backs. Scotland. Here we go. Winning the Euros. Clearly winning the Euros. It's coming home, not home.
Aye. Bring it. I don't honestly. I mean, I think obviously we should talk about Scotland and in positive terms.
Yes,
but
I agree.
I am I remember being 9 years old and sitting watching the World Cup 1998. I don't care what happens. We could get scudded every game. I hope we don't. But we're there. Who cares? Like, I'm buzzing. I'm just having a great time. I'll be steaming by 2 o'clock on Monday. It'll be great.
My thing is, I just want to see Che Adams or McTominay score against England. That'll make me happy, regardless of what happens.
That was going to be one of my things, Mozza. I think we're all buzzing, obviously. Everyone's, 23 years is a long time. For me, I'm in two minds about it. There's part of me that's really confident, but then there's part of me, obviously, that knows football. As soon as you start believing, it's the hope that kills you. We'll end up not winning any of the games and getting put out. For me, it's a learning experience that Scotland desperately need. We need to get past this sort of not qualifying. I don't want this to be like a once in a sort of 20-year or 2-decade span again. Oh, we qualified for the Euros. We need to take the opportunity. The good teams, I know it's different in international level, but good teams go qualify again and again and again, and that's what we need to start doing. But to be fair, I'm really happy in a sense that Billy Gilmore, the sort of younger players are getting that experience, and I think that's needed because then, right, they've been part of a team that's qualified, like Scott McTominay and stuff like that, so that gives them experience to hopefully go on in future years and do it again. But I'm really buzzing. I'm happy that we've done it. I do think we'll actually have a chance of going through the group. As for winning it, I'm going to sort of temper my expectations a wee bit, but I do feel like, I think I mentioned it earlier, but it does feel like one of these tournaments where it could be a surprise winner, and if it's Scotland, I'm just going to, like Mike said, just absolutely drunk for the whole summer, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the thing is, like, obviously we are going to win it hands down because if we, as fans of the Scotland national team, have anything, it's a keen sense of irony. But
yeah, very true.
It's like, it'll be great to see what we're able to do, and if we're able to take the form that we've had in recent months into the tournament, and if we can do that, and if we can put a marker down against Czechia, then yeah, why not get out the group, see how far we can go. I know it's a cliche, but I'm just that buzzing to see Scotland walk out at Hampden playing in a Euro.
I mean,
doesn't matter to me what happens, really.
The big question that keeps coming up, that I keep seeing comments on, Billy Gilmore starting or not starting. I'd personally start him, but I know it's a wee bit of a slight risk, but I think he's the best ball-playing midfielder we've got now, despite his young age.
I'm a massive fan of Billy, to be honest. The problem with Billy Gilmore is he's got massive potential. Obviously, he knows that. But for that, I'm quite keen on watching the Scotland under-21s when I can, and I don't think he's been that standout-ish for the under-21s. I don't know why. If it's just to do with the sort of team. Obviously, he's came on the last few years with Chelsea, and he's Champions League winner, for example. But I wouldn't put that pressure on him to begin with. I would still prefer to have someone like Stuart Armstrong, not against England, obviously, but put our first team out. Yeah, put out the experienced guys first of all, I would say. But yeah, my only prediction for the Scotland team is that I think Che Adams is going to score against England.
Armstrong doesn't really occupy the midfield. He'd be one of the three more attacking places. So it's not like he played well in the friendly. I don't see him starting though. I think Ryan Fraser seems to be the one that will be. I can see him playing both Che Adams and Lyndon Dykes, putting Che on one of the wings and going in, because he did that in one of the kind of build-up games. But I'll leave my final one. That'll be this: Scott McKenna cannot see the field if we want to do well in this tournament. So
too harsh, I would say.
I'm not the biggest fan of Grant Hanley either, but I can cope with him. I prefer Liam Cooper, but Clark loves Hanley, so he'll definitely start, I think. If we don't get through the groups here, we're never going to get through our groups. So that's got to be our major aim, realistically.
I thought you meant by 10 o'clock, but yeah, I do agree.
But yeah, we have 5 minutes left to speed run the final two groups, right? So Group E, Poland, Slovakia, Spain, and Sweden.
Spain.
Any particular thoughts on any of these nations?
I've heard
Spain-
Spain are pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Spain and
I think-
Poland.
Yeah, I
would
think
say.
this could be Poland. Not this could be Poland's year, but I think they could actually like make an impact this, because if they don't do it this time, then
Have they got Lewandowski? Yeah.
Yeah,
He's-
Lewandowski's there. Yeah.
If-
This
yeah,
is
he's-
probably one of his last tournaments, isn't it?
I mean, if you've got
I
him
think
in the
he'll
squad,
maybe make the World Cup, but I don't see him in
Yeah.
the next Euros. So
if you've got him in the squad, obviously he can get goals. He's a world class striker. They've obviously not got the team that Bayern Munich do, but I think Spain and Poland for me there.
I don't see Slovakia doing much. They're still relying on Hamzik, who's not the same player that he used to be. They're quite
Aye,
older.
he's still carrying an injury, I think, as well. So.
Yes, aye.
I think
not really
I think
getting to
Spain
enough
could.
front either.
Spain are either gonna make more of an impact than anyone expects, or implode on themselves because of all their problems going in terms of COVID and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whether Sweden can capitalise on that, we'll see. But
The
I fancy Sweden to get through this group. Like, I think 3 will get through from there because there's enough points to go around.
The one minor about Spain, or the one talking point, is the fact that they never. I don't think they selected any Real Madrid players, which was crazy. Like if you think about how good Real Madrid have been over the years for Spain, but it's actually a different Spain team, I would say, than previous, given that there's not going to be any of the sort of Real Madrid guys. I don't know if that's just like against Real Madrid or something, but it does seem a bit strange that they've not picked any Real Madrid players for like the first time since, I guess, forever. I don't know if that's ever been a thing for them.
I think only really Nacho and Ramos are the big ones that stand out. Madrid weren't that good this year, but aye, it's interesting, definitely. I still think they'll get through, but it depends. If they can keep the COVID outbreak down to just Busquets, they should be alright, but if it spreads, Busquets was at the first game anyway, isn't he? I think, the way the isolation rules are, so it depends how many players they miss for these games. Let's hope for their sake it's just him. They do have a backup 10 players training separately, I know, they were saying, so up until the first game they can still add players in because they've got 2 spare slots for whatever reason, unlike any other country. And then Group F finishes off. France, Germany, Hungary and Portugal. Apparently this is a group of death, but I only can see it being a group of death for Hungary.
I disagree. I think Hungary's going to win the whole thing. Group of death, I would say.
it was a different time and a different group, but Hungary finished top of a group with Portugal in it
They did.
at Euro 2016, so why not this time? Listen, I mean, I think obviously it comes down to France and Germany. I don't think Portugal. I mean, obviously they won the last one, but it's just.
I would agree with you, Mike. I would agree
it.
with you, Mike. But I'll swap Portugal and Germany. I think it's between France and Portugal for me.
I think Germany's biggest problem is that Yogi Löw should have left like 4 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago. But at the end of the day, he's still there. So I think I watched them win the Euro under 21s. But yeah, why aren't we talking more about Adam Shalai? That's a
I
good
think we should be
question.
talking more about Yogi Love. That's an outstanding way of saying that man's name.
I laughed at that as soon as you said it. Brilliant. Yogi
See,
Löw.
I'm kind of with Chris in this. I don't think Germany are that good at the minute. Like, they're just getting a wee bit the wrong side of peak. There's a lot of older boys there.
It's a weird one because, like I say, they've just won that tournament, but yet they're bringing back Müller and Hummels for the Euros, and you kind of wonder which level their commitment's operating at.
had a few
Especially
dodgy
after they
results
had
as
that
well,
huge
haven't
reset.
Yeah.
I mean, in order to ensure that they're bringing young players through, that was their entire sort of, that was why they were so dominant for a period. And now they seem to have, again, I think it's back to the management. I think I think Love's struggling to kind of turn around and say, well, actually, I could commit to these young players when he knows he's leaving. I just think he's back for a glory tour.
to me, for me, I think Germany are actually are past the transitional, or going past the they're actually on the upward trend again, because they do have a lot of youngsters coming through. I mean, they've got guys like Kimmich who are obviously world class. They're not too old, so I think Germany are going to be coming back up. But I just think it's too early in terms of this tournament.
I mean, there's a lot of young players in that squad. The question is, are they going to start? Because knowing Joachim Löw, he likes the experience, doesn't he? So it wouldn't surprise me if he goes with all the old boys and are really static, and it just doesn't work. Whereas he could be putting like Serge Gnabry, Kai Havertz, Leroy Sané, all these guys in the first team. I just don't think he will, to be honest.
Basically, Bayern Munich.
basically, which kind of has a story of German football now, isn't it?
Yep.
So that brings us to an end. It's 10 o'clock, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me this morning for the first one.
My pleasure. I'm so sorry to the chat.
But aye, everyone for watching, thanks very much for spending your mornings with us as well. This is pretty much every morning now, all the way through the Euros. We'll take a couple of days off here now when there's no games, but
don't worry, we won't be back.
Well, they might. We'll leave it up to you, right? if the fans clamour, you can come back.
Oh my god, I'm buzzing.
Unfortunately for Michael, there are no fans in Hampden right now, so there's no clamour.
I'm just waiting for Granit Xhaka to get sent off, and then that'll be me.
Then that'll be him giving it the big licks on Twitter. Talking of which, do you want to give us your Twitters just before we finish up? If folk want to give you a wee follow.
You can, yeah, sure. You can follow me at Be Quiet Michael. We do podcast stuff about history, which totally relates to football.
There's a cracking France 98 podcast that Michael's just done about Scotland being there that I'd recommend you go and listen to. Since he's not a salesman.
Oh, get on with you.
And Chris, my catch-up partner in crime.
Yeah, you can find me at Rampant FM, or as Mozza alluded to, obviously the official catch-up, where we talk about the Lowland League and Scottish Non-League in general, at official catch-up on Twitter as well.
So thank you very much for joining us again, folks. I will see you later on tonight for more FM, and then tomorrow morning for the first preview games. It's Italy-Turkey tomorrow. We've got Sam North, and I'm trying to remember who else we've got. It's I'll tell you in 2 seconds who we've got. I need to go back to the Twitter.
This is awkward. Quick, Chris, Phil.
Quick,
Phil.
Phil.
Say something weird.
Say something.
Say something about Granit Xhaka.
Sam North, and we've got Juddy on as well. So 2 guys known for their YouTube and known for hanging about with footballers. We'll see what their chat is. But until then, catch you later on.
See you later.